All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video. In this video, we're going to talk about the games from last night. The Houston Rockets in Cleveland to play the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the New York Knicks in Dallas to play the Mavericks. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So, we got these two games last night. I enjoyed both of them pretty thoroughly. I do have notes, as I always do, and we're going to talk about the box score. We're going to talk about how we got to the final score and all that good stuff. The first note I have, though, however, and a trend I've been noticing from almost every NBA team that's capable of doing it, and I went through some of my older notes also from the last couple weeks since the beginning of the season, and some of my notes basically just start with the same thing: blank team going big, both teams going big. And that's what happened in this game. Both teams went really big starting five. The Rockets went extremely big. They went Ahmed Thompson, they went Kevin Durant, they went Jabari Smith Jr., they went Alperen Şengün, and they went Steven Adams. I think the smallest person in that starting five is Ahmed Thompson at 6'7". And then the Cavaliers, a bit depleted talent wise right now. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. They, however, did try to pull out their version of a big lineup. They went Donovan Mitchell, um, DeAndre Hunter, Tomlin, Mobley, and Jared Allen. Tomlin getting his first start of the NBA season. And I just want to take a moment and pause right here because I bring up me talking about the other notes I have about both teams going big. Is it's a trend I've been noticing. And the trend is, well, the trend has gone towards, I should say, every player on the court, especially in your starting five, needs to be able to defend almost all five positions, handle the ball, um, create some type of offense, whether it be in the paint, at the top of the key, in the corners, or at least move the ball, at least be somewhat sentient in that regard of knowing where you are, knowing where your teammates are, and all that stuff. And it's been effective to different lengths. You look at Dallas trying to run Cooper Flag at the point guard position. Hasn't really worked out. Maybe you can revisit that in 5 years when Cooper Flag is actually a full fledged NBA player. Maybe he'll be able to do it. But in the case of Cleveland doing it, or in the case of Cleveland trying to do it and Houston going all out and doing it, um, I love it. I think it provides some interesting basketball. It's interesting to see other coaches try to outsmart um, the opposing coach when you can see them trying to maybe push the pace, maybe trying to get um, some more of the flat-footed um, bigs in Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün on the Rocket side, and some pick and roll action. It becomes very hard to do that when you're like going from a pick and roll from getting defended from Kevin Durant to Jabari Smith Jr. It becomes very hard to do that stuff. But in most regards, it works, and it's something interesting that I think is just a trend. I don't think this is something that's here to stay. Um, I think we're in a um, I think we're in a very strange time that we've evolved from small ball essentially, right? From dating back to the Mike D'Antoni, um, 60 seconds or less Spurs, or 30 second, what is it, 30 seconds or less Spurs, Suns, pardon me. And we move from that, sort of transforming it into the Warriors um, when they were winning championships lineup, where it was just Draymond Green at the five guarding the other teams like 7 foot center, and then you had like Andre Iguodala, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and now we've moved into this more bigger basketball where you sort of nix the Steph Curry element of this, or nix the Steve Nash element of it, and you just bring in your best point of attack defender as the main as your secondary ball handler, and let your best player be the main ball handler. And in the case of the Rockets, you have Ahmed, the point of attack defender, and then you have Kevin Durant, who is the best player on the team and will bring up the ball most of the time. That doesn't mean Alperen Şengün can't do it, Jabari Smith can't do it, um, Ahmed Thompson himself can't do it. But it's interesting to see the evolution of where we are right now and how long this will be around and how many teams will try to duplicate it. Because to be quite frank, the Rockets are the first team to do this in this capacity, like really go super big night in and night out, and really try to bully ball other teams that really can't run the same stuff. Because Donovan Mitchell, for all he is a great player. He struggled for a majority of this game, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But he uh he struggled with this bigger lineup, and bigger lineup kind of worked, and it ended up fully working in the Rockets' favor. They won this game 114 to the Cavaliers 104. But the Cavaliers gave the Rockets a run for their money on the opposite side as well, where um, when they ran sort of smaller, in comparison, smaller to the Rockets, they had their best offense. So moving into my excuse me there. Moving into my other notes here. My other note here is about Lonzo Ball, their offseason acquisition for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it says Lonzo just a passing guard now, hard to watch. And this was before halftime. He hit a cut. He ended up hitting was this two threes. He took 8 of them. Jeez, I didn't realize he took that many. He made 2 of them. What does that bring him up to on this season? Let's see. What's that bring? I think Alonzo is not shooting particularly well. Let's see here. Alonzo is shooting 31% from 3. Not great, not terrible. Um, but Lonzo's a hard watch, man. And I get it's a new system. I get it's like you sort of kind of asked to be doing more than you probably should be at this point, because Darius Garland is out and off the bench. He's the really only trusted ball handler, and we'll get into some of the other guys as well. Here are some of the other guards that I might actually start to like over Lonzo in some of these situations, where Lonzo's passing the ball too much, and he's being too reserved with his role. And I think, especially when Donovan Mitchell was on the floor, and it's Lonzo Ball and one of the two bigs being Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, or just one of the bigs and a bunch of role players, or even DeAndre Hunter out there with Lonzo Ball. He's way too passive, and it becomes a case of him overpassing the ball and him passing. He had one pass to Evan Mobley where Evan Mobley simply wasn't ready for it because he thought Lonzo was going to take the shot. And he fumbled the ball, and I think he put it up, and it might have gone in. But at the end of the day, Lonzo needs to be more confident taking those shots. And I haven't really liked his Cleveland Cavaliers run so far. And the thing that everybody keeps saying is, oh, you have to wait for them to get healthy. You have to wait for them to get healthy. You have to see how the team operates when they're fully healthy. To be honest, I don't care how they operate fully healthy. We know what they look like when they're fully healthy. I care what they look like when they're trying to integrate some of these newer players. Um, those being Lonzo Ball. I have another note here, but we'll skip it here for a second. Craig Porter Jr., who's turned into a pretty all right NBA player the last couple weeks for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm concerned about those guys. Less Craig Porter Jr., more Lonzo Ball, who's been your big offseason acquisition, who you were like, oh, he's going to come in, he's going to set up guys for the in the second unit and maybe sometimes star and all this stuff. And he just simply hasn't looked good. And it's been quite disappointing because I thought, oh, he turned the corner. He had a bad run in Chicago. He got injured a bunch. He looked really good when he wasn't injured. And I get it's a new team in this Cleveland team, but otherwise, I'm just sort of disappointed. And Alonzo's a guy who needs the utmost confidence every night. And when he doesn't have confidence, he looks bad. And he looked bad last night. Somebody who didn't look bad last night, who have a quick note on here, is Alperen Şengün. Şengün looked amazing. He looked amazing. He looked amazing. Last time I watched him, he always looks amazing. I'm always impressed with his skill set, with his touch around the basket, with his hands. Um, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Amazing stuff. And now moving back to the Cavaliers. when Donovan Mitchell isn't out there for them, especially in this game, because Donovan didn't have a good game until like the fourth quarter. He was bad the whole other three quarters. Um, they looked flat. They looked boring. Um, I like Evan Mobley's confidence a lot this year, taking the threes, getting more physical in the paint. It looked rough sometimes this game as well. Jared Allen had a crazy dunk, but that didn't save the offense. Um, Hunter, the quietest 25. I'm literally just looking at this right now. He had 25, the quietest 25 this week thus far. 5 of 8 from three, 8 of 8. Um, I didn't even know he had 25. I didn't even feel like he had 25. Um, and then the reason why they came back into this game, um, and what really got them going, the igniter for this Cleveland Cavaliers team that otherwise looked flat the whole other three quarters, was Craig Porter Jr. Craig Porter Jr. 26 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, hit some critical shots that really just chewed away and chipped away at the Rockets' lead, and I was highly impressed. I I I think Craig has been on this team a couple years now, and he hasn't really been played. I think he's been in the G League a little bit. He looked really good this game. He's looked really good the last couple games I've watched him, and he might be carving out a role for himself on this team. They don't have Max Juice right now. Don't have Darius Garland. I'm not saying you could take Darius Garland's minutes because Darius Garland is a max player. Craig Porter could be creeping up on some Max Juice minutes when Max Juice comes back, and if he doesn't have it, Craig Porter could have it. He could take that spot from him. Like I said, the Cavs were painting a beautiful comeback. Donovan Mitchell finally showed up right on time, right in the fourth quarter where you thought, oh, he's not going to play well this game. Showed up, finished the game with 21 points, 3 of 9 from three rebounds, 2 assists, 4 turnovers, 2 steals. A mixed bag, but really, really showed up when you needed them to. And I think that's really all that matters. The other thing that I was thinking about earlier this morning, when I was thinking about this game, was the problem is with this Cleveland Cavaliers team, and the thing again they keep saying is you have to wait till they get healthy. This isn't the real team. You have to wait till they get healthy. Wait till they get all their guys back. The thing is, I should not have to worry about you getting your guys back if your team is built the way it is. This team is so deadlocked into their roster. They cannot make any moves. They cannot make any trades. They cannot make any waiver signings. They cannot do anything. They are a second apron team. This is their team. This is the team they're stuck with, right? I'm so concerned that this Cleveland team does this over and over and over again. Sometimes they blow out teams. Other times when they're playing other championship level teams, they get in such a deep hole and they have to dig themselves out of it. And that becomes such a problem when come what would it be? March, April, when the miles start adding up, where you're like, maybe we should have won this game. Maybe we should have taken this game a little more seriously. This, that, and the third. And it adds miles to your body when you're one coming building building back up from being down, but also not having enough games where you're up enough to rest your guys. That was that and what becomes the problem, and it's it's something to watch out for. It's something to monitor with this Cleveland Cavaliers team that is trying to get to the mountaintop when they haven't been anywhere close the past couple years. When that's been the same goal for the last couple years. Um, and the last note I have here about this game is Cleveland so close but so far. It was game. Let's go through some of these stats here. Kevin Durant 20 points, Jabari Smith 14, Steven Adams 6, Alperen Sengun 28. Um, the rest of the team looked kind of rough when it was just some of the bench out there. Aaron Holiday at 18, that was a good 18. Reed Shepard at 12 had a couple bad passes, couple bad shots. What do you? Okay. I don't want to talk about Reed Shepard. Reed Shepard is just such an enigma at this point. Um, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, 25 for Hunter, 10 for Tomlin, 8 for Allen, 18 for Evan Mobley, and 21 for Donovan Mitchell. Not much else off the bench. Not much more off the bench. Um, for them. So yeah, let's move on to the next game here. Knicks versus Dallas. All right, moving on to Knicks Mavericks. Apparently, they've just decided that my street is going to be the loudest street in the neighborhood, so I apologize if you can hear the stuff in the background. It's not too loud this time, so hopefully that doesn't affect your listening pleasure too much. But yeah, let's move on to this game. My first note here is about the starting five for this Mavericks team last night. I put in all caps, what the hell is this Mavs starting five? Because there was no Cooper Flag due to illness. There was no Kyrie, obviously, no Anthony Davis. And they're running the B team out there with a couple of the starters. And the starting five was, I believe it was Brandon Williams, Max Christie, Clay Thompson, PJ Washington, Derek Lively. What? what when I saw this, right? Because we're gonna go through this game. When I saw this, I was like, "What are they thinking? What is this starting five?" And then I was right. What the hell is the starting five? Because they started off pretty bad from three, but the Knicks also started off pretty bad from three, and that's what kept this game competitive and kept some of these other guys in a flow and sort of a enough of a floating state to stay in this game enough. And their defense was pretty good. Their defense was really good. Um, my other note here is the Mavs B team actually putting in some work in the first quarter. That was due to guys like Najee Marshall, Clay Thompson had a couple okay shots. Max Christie showed up in the beginning of the game and towards the end of the game. 15 for Max, 13 for Clay, and 23 for Russell, and then 23 also for Najee Marshall. And as this quarter went on and the second quarter went on, and I was watching this game, and I was watching Najee Marshall. I never expected this level of offense from Najee Marshall. Najee Marshall is a real bucket. He's a real problem. And I don't know, I get why he wasn't starting, but he should be starting every night. Najee Marshall is a really good player. And I think he's from the Nuggets, right? I always get him and somebody else confused. I believe he played on the Nuggets previously. Um, I'd have to find his thing here. From New Orleans. New Orleans, yes, New Orleans. I remember him in New Orleans, yes. I always get him and somebody else confused. Anyway, Najee Marshall. I never expected this level of offense from Najee Marshall. Najee Marshall's really good. He's really good, and he was a big. He was probably the only reason throughout the course of the game, and then in the fourth quarter, D'Angelo Russell started to show up a little bit, and Max Christie showed up a little bit. Why they were in this game? This was the Najee Marshall game for the for the Mavericks. Um, and then moving on to somebody who didn't really help the Mavericks heading down the stretch, Clay Thompson, man. I've talked about Clay Thompson a little bit here and there when I've talked about the Mavericks. Clay is such a tough watch right now, man. He is, as somebody who watched him for like I've been watching Clay for oh my god. It's gonna be 10 years almost. Yeah, 10 years. It's at 10, 11 years now. Um he's so washed. It is so over. Um what makes me say this is that they were trying to run him as like the off guard essentially and use him as a ball handler. His handle was never good to begin with. It was pretty bad. Absolutely atrocious. Absolutely, he got his pocket picked so many times by so many different guys. He got it picked by Mikal Bridges. He got it picked by I think Landry Shamet once. He got it picked by um, a bunch of times, and it was just so disappointing because I was like, I knew Clay's handle wasn't great to begin with, even when he was in his prime. He has the most points off the least amount of dribbles in NBA history for a reason, right? But he looked bad. He looked really bad this game. He had a I'll skip to it, but he had a shot at the end of the game where like Jason Kidd drew up a play especially for him to get an open three, and it was way off. I think it was an air ball. It was bad. It was ugh. It was ugh. Oh God. Um, Moving on to the end of the third. Um, it looked like the Knicks were going to run away with this, and the Mavs were sort of creeping. They were creeping in a little bit. They were creeping back in a little bit, and this is when Max Christie started to show up. Max looked really good. This is the best I've seen him in a Mavs jersey. The throw-in guy in the Luka trade, he the only guy playing from the Luka trade, looked really good. 15 points, 3 of 6 from three. Was it 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers? Not great, but 1 steal, 4 personal fouls. Not great either, but the best offensively he's looked. We'll put it that way. Um, then heading into the fourth, you had a Shamit, 2 big threes. Landry Shamit for the Knicks, 2 big threes. Um, the Knicks had trouble all night scoring, all night. Brunson only had 28. Carl had 18. He was good in the fourth quarter as well. Mitchell Robinson, 3. Mikal Bridges, 16. Landry Shamet, 9. This is the biggest 9 points you'll ever see. He hit his only 2 threes in like the last 3 to 2 minutes of this game. So that was really good for Landry. Got Shamit. Um, Shamited? Shamit? You got shammed on? Slammed on? Um, and then after Landry hit those couple threes, this is when Coach Jason Kidd drew up the 3 point play for Klay Thompson, and it was over. It was such a bad attempt. It was such a bad play, just because the Knicks defense is so good. But it was such a bad play too, and Klay looked really bad. Um, and then it came down to the end, and it became a free throw battle. And uncharacteristically, Jalen Brunson missed a Najee Marshall, was it not? Yeah, Najee. No, no, it was PJ. It was PJ Washington. PJ Washington, right? Was it PJ? Yeah, it was PJ. I believe it was PJ. Yeah, one of them at the line made one, and the option was either to miss it, purposefully miss it, go up for it, and then get the 2 points, or make it and then foul. They made it and then fouled, and then uncharacteristically, Jalen Brunson misses one of his free throws and makes one of them. The Mavericks have no more timeouts. Whoever inbounds the ball inbounds it to Klay. Klay in midair turns, fires it to um, Brandon Williams. Brandon Williams sprints down the floor with the ball. Like really takes like 3 steps, gets past Landry Shamet. This is happening on the right hand side of your screen. Um, Uses his left hand to sort of like guide guide Landry like you normally would, but he goes way too far, like almost like pushes him and puts his hand around his waist backwards. The screenshots are crazy because Brandon Williams has his like whole arm like around Landry Shamit's waist and like pushes him back and lays it up, and the building goes crazy for about 5 seconds, and then the refs like blow the whistle. They're like, "No, shot doesn't count, offensive foul," and the game was over. But that would have been one of the craziest game winners this year so far, and there have been a couple. There have been a couple. That would have been one of the crazier ones. But the Mavs almost sneak away with the win. Jalen Brunson's first win in Dallas since being a Maverick. Um, really, really high stakes for a game that really shouldn't matter against a Mavs team who really shouldn't be that good. But the Knicks get their first road win as well. And it came off the back of some pretty good performances off the bench for the Knicks. Josh Hart, 16, Miles McBride, 11. I already talked about the starters. Um, I, I, I forgot to almost mention D'Angelo Russell. I think I mentioned him a little bit at 23. He did a D'Angelo Russell where he hit like 2 threes in a row, had a couple good assists, and then a couple good shots in the paint. And then he got way too cocky and then blew up the game essentially for the Mavs. But your team's bad, and you know you've made the wrong decisions in life when Klay Thompson's on the bench and D'Angelo Russell is closing out games for you. You know you've made the wrong decisions as a front office when that is what's happening in a game in November. Um, yeah. that's it. That's the video. That's all I have to say about this game. And I don't know how this is gonna sound um, at the end with all this noise in the background. So we'll end it there. You guys will probably get a video this weekend. The Friday tomorrow, probably Friday or sometime this weekend. We'll see. We'll talk about some other stuff. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.